Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 11th day of July, right in the middle of the summer here. Got a great show on tonight. I know the baseball all-star game is on tonight. I totally forgot about it. I got two Atlanta Braves in there for the National League. Also, but on tonight's show, got Keith Engel from TGI Sports, one of the fan favorites, coming in here in about 25, 30 minutes. Here, going to ask him about a little bit of a baseball question. I'm just asking him about Brian Cashman. Pat Fitzgerald, once a very promising coach there for Northwestern. That's going to be the first story I'm going to jump on after the break. Also, Victor Wembanyama, thoughts on his debut and more. Stand by. We'll start Sports Scope here, and we'll take our first and only break here in 49 seconds. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then. I was sitting there debating Pat Fitzgerald, Victor Wembanyama. I think I'll start with Victor Wembanyama. And, as we ended the Friday's program, I said I taped that Summer League game. Nobody watches Summer League. It's first and second year players. It's players trying to make the team. Occasionally, if you do get a highly thought of rookie or two, you're going to mainly you might take a look at Summer League games, and mainly they're on NBA TV. Now I've got NBA TV. Pay a lot of money for this cable package, so I went on and but this one got moved up to moved on to ESPN. Okay, and as I was talking about on Sunday's Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show, the word bust was trending on Twitter Friday night. And I thought to myself, what do you expect from a guy who's 19, first game in the summer leagues? Do you expect him to have 40 points and 20 rebounds, have a Shaquille O'Neal in his prime type of day? I mean, I didn't expect any of that. But, so I went on and looked up because I was curious. He had what did Wembanyama have? This was Friday night. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 blocks. I was actually very impressed. Friday, forget about Monday. What was it? It was Sunday, I guess. His second game where he had 27 points. This game was sold out. Very rare for a summer league game. Okay. You had the thing with Britney Spears there trying to congratulate him. Jack Hirsch said on Mac and Jack, he says, listen, this guy's been hyped up for over a year, most hyped since LeBron James back in 2003. People are going to be gunning for this young man. And that was true. And you could tell he was pressing a little bit, but still had a great, I thought, really good game. All things considered, on top of everything. Going back to LeBron's 2003 debut in the Summer League. This is LeBron, arguably one of the greater players of all time. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for LeBron's first Summer League game back in 2003, 20 years later. So, again, Victor Wembanyama, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks, 3 assists. That was a very comparable Summer League game. And, of course, I want to say he had 27 in 12, 27, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks in his second game. And now the Spurs being a little cautious here, shutting him down for the rest of the Summer League. I think they've seen enough, you know. So I think this guy's really good, man. I think that his ceiling is really high. I look at him, and nobody really talked about his defensive presence when discussing his his breakdown, his game breakdown, his scouting report. I didn't really hear anything, but with the 5 blocks, the 3 blocks in game 2, how many of those shots were contested? How much trajectory of the shot selection does the opposition bring to the table? I mean, this guy's unbelievable. 8-foot wingspan. Jerry West, not one to hand out a bunch of freaking compliments all the time. He does sometimes. He does something, but he's not one to just, you know, he really got into J.J. Redick's rear end a few months ago about something. Real hot-tempered guy. He says this guy reminds him of a bigger version of Bill Russell. That's Jerry West, the logo. So, you know, like I said, I was really impressed with him. I think that he has a Giannis-like presence, except he's got some more skill. Giannis won Defensive Player of the Year, and he won MVP. I don't see any reason out of the question why Wembanyama cannot win both of them. Maybe not in the same year like a Michael Jordan. I think Jordan was the only player in the history of the game that I can think of that's ever won Defensive Player of the Year and MVP back in '88. But this guy, from his skill set, the way he got into the lane Friday night, that looking to pass first, he's not a selfish player. I like that little dish out underneath. Shows me that there's no reason why he can't be compared to a Joker in 4 to 5 years from now and be in a championship type of player. As I said before coming in, I'm glad he went to the Spurs. I'm glad he's getting some mentorship. There was a photo that leaked out. It didn't leak out, was posted. I won't say leak. I've been watching too much political stuff. That was posted that, you know, with him having dinner with Tim Duncan, David Robertson, Manu Ginobili, and, of course, Tony Parker, also fellow Frenchman. He's getting a lot of good mentorship. As I mentioned on this program a few weeks ago, talking about the Gus D'Amato, former great trainer of Mike Tyson, really discovered Mike Tyson, you know, said that Mike Tyson gave him life and everything, you know, may want to give him a reason to want to live and keep going. The much older Gus D'Amato, Greg Popovich signed 5-year, $80 million extension. It was originally said that he was going to be extended for 3 years. I think he looked at Wembanyama and he thought, you know what? This kid's got it, man. He's got it. It just depends on the talent is going to transfer to today's game. Comparables are Joker. Comparables are Giannis's defensive presence with Joker's ball handling. Yes, he's a little thin. Yes, you're going to have to work his minutes in because he's not used to playing an 82-game season. And Pickle says he'll be a handful to shoot over with that 8-foot wingspan. Think about trajectory. Yeah, they're not going to the championship this year, Carlos. Carlos says they need more players. Nobody's expecting them to be in the playoff hunt this year. I wouldn't expect them to be in a playoff hunt for another 3 years, maybe 4. That doesn't mean that some of their games are not going to get on TV. Watch his maturation and see what happens from there. Kind of like we watched with LeBron James. LeBron didn't win anything till he was about 9 years in the league, I want to say, from when he went from 8, 9 years in the league to when he went over to Miami in his second year there. So I don't think that it's out of the question to have those realistic expectations for him to succeed at a high level. That being said, this is a guy that you can build around. You can win championships. He needs a Jamal Murray type of guy to run a high pick and roll. And listen, I think they will. He's not a selfish player. You can tell that already. When he's looking to pass, he's not looking to score every time. I think he's going to be one of those players. He's going to have a really high plus minus and high win share rating. Some of those advanced metrics, he's going to be one of those players where it's not always going to show up in by the way, when did Tim Duncan average 35-4? Tim Duncan never averaged that. You had to watch Mr. Fundamental play the ball at the top of the key. He had the backboard shot down. He set the high pick and rolls. He was a big shot guy. He made quite a few big shots, but he didn't look that dynamic per se, a Tim Duncan. But hey, he won 5 championship rings, set up that high pick and roll. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, very calm guy, quiet strength there. I could see this in Wembanyama. I really can. And all that from 2 games? Yeah. All that from 2 games, plus watching a lot of his YouTube stuff. The guy's 7'3". Some people were telling me that, well, I think it was you, Carlos. It might have been somebody else. Well, Porzingis is that. I mean, that was Jim Jeffco. And he said, Porzingis was 7'3" too. Yeah, but Porzingis was never this skilled. He was never this skilled at 7'3" when he first came into the league. This guy carries the ball down the court with ease, can get into the lane, looking to pass, not hesitant to take. He took a 3. He missed it. Not hesitant to take a 3, can defend the 3. There's not a lot he can't do. To be honest with you, yes, he's going to be – strength is going to be a thing. I saw Brandon Miller strip him the other night. I get that. They're going to get him in the weight room. For those of you, Kevin Durant, when he first came in, first year out of Texas, he looked like one of those Kenyan runners. LeBron James was not a very thick player when he came in out of high school, out of Akron, Ohio. LeBron's put on the proper amount of weight. So will his Kevin Durant. So this stuff that he's too thin, that's overstated. I don't think it's going to be a major issue, in my opinion. Nobody wants to be watching their team grow and mature. Well, that's the reality of the NBA, Carlos. That's the reality. If you want that to stop, then have the owners tell Adam Silver that we're no longer taking guys at 19. You got to be 3 years out of high school. That's a players association ownership problem, and of course, ownership tells the commissioner what to do. So that's my issue. Make it 3 years, and you can. But that's just the reality of it. That's the nature of the beast. Okay, so I think he's going to be fine. I think I would take him. Like Howard was saying, yeah. Would you take him over one of these dynamic guards? Probably won't win Rookie of the Year. Scoot Henderson from Blazers may do that. And my answer is yes. My answer is yes, because of Giannis and Joker, because of Tim Duncan. Big guys that are coordinated, not even Shaq really, but these guys you can build around them. And he's not a selfish player. He's got a lot of intangibles. With the tangibles are 7'3" wingspan, blah, blah, blah. The intangibles, you don't have to make an argument for that. Okay, big story here. Now, Pat Fitzgerald, I want to get my opinion out because I know sometimes Keith comes in early. Pat Fitzgerald fired from Northwestern football. Really good coach here. Now, listen, this guy, the Northwestern football coach, kind of on a downward trajectory, hazing allegations aside, okay? Last year, Northwestern 1-11. In 21, they were 3-9. In 20, this was really impressive, though. 7-2 for the COVID year, but they were 3-9 the year before that. Not a winning record 3 out of the last 4 years. Kind of been flat, kind of been complacent. I think 17 years, the most winningest coach there in the history of Northwestern football. It's an academic, a lot of great broadcasters. Mike Greenberg from Mike and Mike went to Northwestern, guys like that. So going back to these allegations, this goes back all the way to last year. Okay, there was a complaint made about this back in November about player hazing. Let me tell you this about hazing. I think when you think about getting in a fraternity, football hazing used to be accepted in the NFL. I used to see something on the early years of Hard Knocks, the show like that. Someone that's been bullied and learned how to stand up for myself to bullies growing up in the inner city for most of my young childhood, walking to school in the projects from K through 4, living in and around the inner city school, bullied a whole lot. Hazing is a form of bullying. I thought it was one of those things like I thought it was stupid then. I think the people that let it go on, they're weak. It's not building team chemistry. It's some inferior people, bullies on the team. Most people do not want to do hazing. I don't know why universities and sororities, fraternities allow it, turn a blind eye to it. It does not build camaraderie. It's a bunch of 50-cent groupthink nonsense. That's what hazing is. Okay. From what I've read from this story, from what I get of it, now it looks like he's going to sue. He's going to sue these guys for this. But this is what I got out of The Athletic. So an independent investigation to this hazing allegation back in November of last year. So I got this from Athletic. The summary said the investigation team interviewed more than 50 people affiliated or formerly affiliated with the football program and reviewed hundreds of thousands of emails and player survey data dating back to 2014. Current former players varied on their perspective or of the conduct. However, the investigation team determined that the complainant's claims were largely supported by evidence gathered during investigation, including separate and consistent first-person accounts. I mean, it's a lot of sexualizing stuff like that involved in this stuff. Very idiotic, if you ask me, and way over the top. They have their training camp at this facility away from campus here. And during this 2-week suspension, that all this come to the forefront, and the president decided to go ahead and fire Fitzgerald. Now, I'll tell you this, what probably the situation was, he knew, he just turned a blind eye. He wasn't involved in it. He wasn't, from what I read in these articles, that Coach Fitzgerald wasn't initiating it or saying, I'm not telling you to do this to the freshman, but it's none of that nonsense. But, this guy's only 49. He had been there since he was 17 years, since he's only 32 years old. And I'll tell you what about Fitzgerald here. This is how hot he was at one time. In 2018, he was a candidate for the Green Bay Packers. He was also a candidate for the Carolina Panthers. This team had beaten teams like ranked really high teams, Iowa, Wisconsin. They came within a one score about 10, 12 years ago, I want to say, of beating one bad call from beating Ohio State with very, very subpar talented players. And it seems like he's kind of, I felt like that Fitzgerald should have moved on years ago from Northwestern. I know he's from that area, Illinois, and he just signed a 10-year deal back in 2021 to be the. He signed a 10-year deal back in 2021 for $57 million. It's a $57 million deal. So, but all that being said, again, I think he got way too complacent out there, and quite frankly, the program got stale. Again, 3 out of the last 4 seasons have not even been winning seasons for him. But when you get something like this, Pickles says he looks like he lied about it from the jump. So it's I think that's weak, man. I think hazing is such a weak thing to do. It's one of those things where I never thought, like a long time ago, I'm 41. I never thought it was, man, you got to do this. I never thought, even when I was a kid, I thought that was stupid, and it's something that bullies like to do. They just like to bully around. That's the way I see it. And anybody that supports it's a moron. I was offered to get in. I went to Austin Peay. I was a little older. I was 21. When I started there, I was offered to get in a couple of fraternities. They had close ties with sororities, a lot of good-looking women in the sororities, But I thought about that hazing. I thought, nah, I'm not a group thing guy, man. Never have, never will be. Don't believe in it. So that being said, probably the best thing to ever happen to Coach Fitzgerald. Sounds like he's gotten a little too comfortable up there. Things are going off the rails anyways. I think that there will be other offers come his way in the college, maybe the professional leagues. He'll probably be off this year. And depending what happens, I'm sure he's going to sue that university like nobody's business because his lawyers already put out a statement. That's where I see this thing going into. But anything other than that, I don't think he's going to get his job back. I'm going to go into tomorrow. I'm going to go into a story about Bob Huggins. He's trying to get his job back. A little bit different situation there. The West Virginia basketball coach. I'll get into that tomorrow. But anyways, so I think he'll bounce back. The program needs another coach. It's getting stale last 3 or 4 years anyways. So again, I've got Keith Fagan going to come in here in a few minutes, coming on the program. Going to ask him about Brian Cashman, talking the last few days about the Yankees general manager. They fired their man. I bet $5 on the Yankees to beat the Cubs on Sunday, and of course, what's his name? German, the pitcher that had the perfect game against Oakland last week or whatnot, the week before that. This was his next start, and he's up there, not pitched that many pitches. He's got a 3-run lead in like the 6th or 7th inning. The Yankees blow the lead and blow the game to the Cubs. And now, of course, Cashman, I was reading that Cashman fired their pitching coach. Okay. And like I said, I was going to ask this. So I started looking at their pitching staff here for the Yankees. These are names that just do not jump off the page other than Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's he's 9-2 as a record here. Jermaine or whatever, the player that had the perfect game the other day. He's 5-5. Cortez is 5-2. It's the only other pitcher on their staff of 5-man that has a winning record. Schmidt is 4-6. Well, no, Holmes is 4-2. Bertito is 4-4. This is nothing like that 2000 team pitching wise, where you just had player after player, and not even the starters, not even the starters here. Guys like, you don't see a guy like a Mike Stanton on this staff as a reliever. You don't see a guy like a anything even close to a Mariano Rivera, a Roger Clemens, an older but still capable Dwight Gooden. You don't see a Orlando Hernandez, El Duque on this team. Andy Pettit. I mean, they just had a lot of really good pitchers come through that organization during that run, and it's like they simply he's lost his feel for. I don't know if it's something with the scouting. Is it something with their farm system up there? Obviously, that they've got the deep pockets to go after big name pitchers, but you're paying guys like Donaldson a ton of money. I mentioned John Carlos Stanton making almost $30 million a year in that major contract. Him and Aaron Judge, their numbers, their size, their numbers pretty equal. I know Judge, and I know these guys have been hurt and stuff. Judge is, but you still have to have emphasis on pitching, middle relief, closers, and that's something that they're simply not doing. You know, Pickle says the Mets are selling players after tonight. Yeah. Well, the Mets, I said that, you know, with Ohtani and an owner like Steve Cohen, why don't you try to sell Ohtani? Bring out the red carpet, sell Ohtani to come to New York, set up some kind of deal with him where he get the private jet to go see the family, outbid everybody, set the apartment up. Obviously, he's going to have his interpreter, get some former Yankees, Hideki Matsui, somebody like that are of course, former Japanese players that played for the Yankees per se, or for the Mets for that matter. I'm sorry, I got the two New York teams mixed up for the Mets here per se. So, and the Yankees may take a run at him as well, but it seems like Cashman, the 25-year general manager. Now remember, Bill Walsh said 10 years, whether you're in professional sports as a head coach or a manager. People start to tune you out. He's been there 25 years. And last time they won a World Series or even been to one was 2009. I keep forgetting that Houston, I thought they went against Houston a few years ago, but Houston, remember Houston's in the AL now. It just, you say, well, they're always in the playoffs and they never really miss it. Is that the bar now? Is that the bar? Is the bar lowered for the Yankees at that point now? A lot more resources than 90-something% of the teams out there. Money's not an issue. Brand is not an issue. They're one of the big brands in the entire world. They're not too far away from the Dallas Cowboys. They're like what? They're no farther than 10th down. I want to say they're probably a top 5, according to Forbes magazine, brand in the United States. Now, I haven't seen nothing come up from Keith yet. Hope he's going to be able to make it. He said he was, but we shall see. Owuku Saki. If Keith doesn't come on here in the next few minutes, I will get into that crazy other story here that was talking about Bob Huggins, something about his wife sending the text message. It's a crazy story. Let's see what Pickle says. Pickle says, Middle relief wins games. You know, when I was watching the World Series last year, what was it, a 4-player no-hitter against the Phillies in the World Series with the Houston Astros? You know, that a lot of that's middle relief. And I think about those World Series St. Louis Cardinal teams, not the best, not the stream aces. They had some good ones at starting pitching, but they always had, then they're in their little run there, great middle relief, great closers, you know. And it's shit. Middle relief is kind of like the offensive line. You know, the closers, you got Rivera, save guys. You got guys like John Smokes, one of the only few to have 50 saves and 50 wins. You know, those are the guys that you see in October. But what about the guy at the end of the 7th, the 8th? That's the player you usually do not hear about. That's the player. Mike Stanton comes to mind when I think about middle relief. They're not big name guys, but they get the job done. You know, sometimes closers do play middle relief, but middle relief pitching is really, it's always been it's like the guard in football. You know, the offensive guard, the left tackle gets a lot of it. The center gets some love. The left tackle gets the money. Then you got your right, but your guards are the one that gets you the push in the running game. You know, you want to have good guards. And of course, they're good for pass blocking too. I mean, you don't want any pressure up the middle and you know, do something with the quarterback's vision per se. That's why you want to have a good defensive tackle. But your guards don't quite get the love as your. It's the same thing with your middle relief. Don't quite get the love that the closer gets, and it's hard to find and it's hard to hold. You know, so we'll see what happens here. Boy, I hope Keith is all right. I hope he got my. Let's see if he come up here. Hey Robert. Links take me to the show. That's over. Did I mess up the time? Well, let me make sure and send him the link again. Stand by here. Let's see. Hold on, folks. We'll put you on a small break here, and I'm going to come back and hopefully have Hello, SportsScope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and SportsScope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Hello, SportsScope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and SportsScope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Hello, SportsScope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, If you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Well, I'm waiting for Keith to come back on. It may be something up with his internet here. Either way, we're just going to keep on keeping on. Like I said earlier, getting a little bit more into the baseball scene. Baseball's faster now. The ratings are up. I know we got the All-Star game coming on now. The next thing is for baseball, they need to shorten the seasons, slightly short the seasons. Just finished off the college game. LSU won the World Series here. Had a college player on the program. I don't know what's up with Keith. I hope that thing is working right. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, man, I tell you, I hate the technology, man. Oh, there he is. Cool. Keith Fingal, how you doing, man?
Man, Robert, I go into a link and I got nothing but the Mad New Yorker in there.
I'm glad you find time to come on. It's always good to have you. I was just ranting about this Yankee team. My thing is, Brian Cashman, they fired their pitching coach the other day. Last Friday's show, I was talking about their middle relief and closers, not quite what it used to be. I was just naming off some players from that 2000 team, for example. Mike Stanton, Orlando Hernandez, not star guys, just middle relief guys. We all know about Rivera. It seems like he's kind of lost that edge for that aspect of it. You know, you got 26 million in what's his name? Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah. And kind of Aaron Judge does the same thing. Do you think he's slipping a little bit as a GM up there?
I think he's been slipping for a while.
Since 2009, right?
He's been here 25 years. He's got one World Series appearance. One. Yeah. The Royals have two and won one. Come on.
Right.
I mean, that's not good enough here. It's just not good enough. Might be good enough in Kansas City.
That's what I was telling Matt Carlos on Friday. I said, I understand it if you're Atlanta or Kansas City, one of these smaller markets. That's really, even for St. Louis, and they're a baseball town. But look at the resources. You got the Yes Network there. The pitching's just not. Have they lost scouts? Yeah. I just wonder what the deal is with that.
Well, two things. I think there's a couple things here. First of all, he keeps putting together the same type of team every single year. And they have tremendous regular season performances, but he doesn't have lineups that can score runs when they're not hitting home runs. They don't beat elite pitchers in the postseason. Yeah, that's been happening since 2009, basically.
Right.
And then there's this, like a lot of other teams, he specifically, I think, has fallen in love with analytics, and that trickles down to the field, because I think he's, doing a lot of the lineup adjustments and scripting out ball games. And, that's why you see, it's nice to see Domingo Germán get a perfect game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But just took him out premature on Sunday.
Well, a few weeks before that, he took him out in the ninth inning after throwing 88 pitches. They're up 2-0. He takes them out of the game after he gives up a leadoff walk. And they lose the game 3-2. So again, there's too much of this analytics nonsense and no feel for the game, either from the front office or on the field. That's part of the problem. The biggest part.
And you got to change your analytics if you can't shift anymore, and they've got this time pitching.
Aaron. I swear, Aaron Boone just carries Brian Cashman's water. I swear to God.
I thought it was just me. I thought it was. I'm just looking at it I'm not deep into baseball like I was 15, 20 years ago. Now I'm starting to get slowly back into it. I'm thinking this guy's been there. You know, Bill Walsh, the 49ers head coach, said, as a general manager, a head coach, nobody should stay over 10 years in pro sports. Because people tune you out. The front office tunes you out. He's been there 25 years, man.
25 years and one World Series. I guarantee there's not another GM in Yankee history that's been there 25 years with one World Series and stayed there. He would not. He'd be gone 20 years ago.
What would George do, right?
Oh, he wouldn't. He would not have been there 25 years. That's guaranteed.
Do you have any thoughts on this Pat Fitzgerald? Man, boy, he was a promising coach at one time, right?
He's had tremendous success for coaching at Northwestern, right?
Yeah.
He's been there, I think, for 16 or 17 years. He's been to
17 years, man.
7 or 8 bowl games. He's got a winning record.
Yeah.
Close to 500 in the Big Ten. He's done a great job. He's been, and you've heard his name, I'm sure, bandied about in NFL circles previous years, Chicago specifically a number of times. And it's amazing to me that today these things can go on. And, the coaches, whether he had to have known what was going on, right? But, I mean, think about, and again, it doesn't reach this level, I don't think. Yeah. But it's the same. It's along the lines of Joe Paterno not knowing what was going on in his own locker room.
Right. There was some semi-sexual. And I thought, I don't know about your view on hazing. I thought it was stupid 25 years ago when I was a kid. Yeah. I think it's stupid now. I think it's a form of bullying.
It is. If you want to make a freshman go out and, get your pizza or whatever, well, that's one thing, right? But when you get anything past that, making kids drink until they're sick.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. You're right. That stuff is borderline bullying and borderline criminal, a lot of it. And from the sounds of what went on here, this is going to get ugly.
I think he's going to end up suing.
Yeah.
He was a candidate for the Packers job in 2018.
Yeah. Well, he's been up for the Packers job. I know the Bears had been interested in him a couple of times. Yeah. And I really thought at one time he'd probably be the next coach of the Bears. And
me too, actually. Right up there in Chicago. I was looking at his record the last few years, and they have fallen. It's gotten stale. Yeah, they were 1-11 last year.
I think the last decent year they had was the COVID year. They had a pretty good year that year, and it's been pretty bad since.
3-9 in 21, and in 2019 they were 3. So it's kind of fell off. It's like he's zoned out, like he's working on something else,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in 2020 they were 6-1. They had a shot at the Big Ten title. In 2020, but that was a weird year anyway, right? So. But again, this is a guy who he's got to be. I would say he's the most successful coach in Northwestern history. Gary Barnett had a nice run and actually went to a Rose Bowl, which is unheard of. But I think for longevity and overall, I think Pat Fitzgerald probably ekes out Gary Barnett.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I think he'll bounce back. I think he'll bounce.
It's a sad way to go out. You've had
it is very Urban Meyer-ish, if you ask me.
Urban Meyer. I mean, you got the way Bob Huggins just went out at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Who now says, I know we're not on college basketball, but now he says I never resigned.
I was going to go into that one on my show in depth tomorrow, but I'll say this about Bob Huggins. I had a theory about Bob Huggins. When he said those gay slurs or whatever on that show, and they were asking about the transfer portal and sarcasm, like, you're really good at this. I think he wanted them to fire him and just get the money. Look at all these coaches that quit. Yeah. Jay Wright still had plenty of years left. Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski. I think he just wants to get paid. Now he's like, well, my wife did that. Now he's had 2 DUIs in the last 18 years. Don't get me wrong, 19 years. There might be a problem there, but I think he just wants them to pay him and he wants to go away.
I thought for sure I read that article wrong yesterday when I read it. I'm like, he says he never resigned.
I know I read it Sunday like 2 or 3 times too. And I'm like, what? Your wife did what? Did it take you that long to sober up? He started thinking about all the money he was going to lose, right?
Yeah, and his wife said, maybe she didn't know what he was making. I don't know. I can't. My wife wouldn't send in a resignation for me. I can tell you that.
You know what's really funny? I don't know if you ever heard this story about Larry David, the creator, co-creator of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He says he was a writer at Saturday Night Live, and he had it with his bosses and everybody. Lorne Michaels. He goes off and just says, "I'm quitting this job. I hate this job. Bleep you people." And then he walks off and he starts thinking about he says, "I started thinking about all the money I'm gonna lose." And then his neighbor's like, "Why don't you just go in Monday and act like nothing happened, like you've blown off steam?" And so he just goes back in the next. They actually made an episode of Seinfeld.
George did the same thing, I think, with the Yankees
in the episode. Yeah. he was working in real estate, and the guy's like, "Like, what are you doing here?" They're looking at George like, "What are you doing here?" You know. So I think that was with Bob Huggins. He wanted to get fired. And there was another episode of Seinfeld when he was working with the Yankees, and he's trying to get George Steinbrenner to fire him. He's taking the World Series trophy around the parking lot and getting it all skid up.
That was a great show. I loved Seinfeld. I didn't realize, till long after it was over, I think that, I knew George was based on Larry David.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he was that close to being how Larry David is. So,
yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff.
But I think that has something to do with the Bob. What's your thoughts on Huggins?
That's a good theory. I mean, he's not a stupid guy, right? And he knew he's come to the end anyway. He was, he's probably like, I want the last of my money. And you know what'll happen here? They'll probably settle for some of the money and tell him to go away.
Yeah, 70 years old, they'll go away, maybe clean up, whatever. I didn't realize how old he was.
Yeah, he's been around a long, long time. I mean, he had Cincinnati in the Final Four, like in the, I want to say the early 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he always had them in the tournament, man.
He had Cincinnati in the Final Four and West Virginia in Final Four. I don't know, maybe West Virginia was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. But he always turned out really good teams. But he always
get over the hump, though.
He had a issue with anger, and obviously a little issue maybe with alcohol, and he's had his share of issues that he's been involved in. Yeah,
and that's probably why he ain't got over the hump.
It's kind of
I was asking Carlos about this, man, a few weeks ago. This new schedule for the SEC came out, and what's your thoughts about 1 year from now, Keith? We're going to be talking about who can make the 12-team. Did you think 20, 25, 30 years ago that we would have a 12-team playoff in 2024 and Texas and Oklahoma with Texas A&M will be playing in the SEC?
Look at the playoff. I'm actually happy with, because, again, I think they needed to expand this. And it's not the way I would have done it. And I'm going to get myself sued because I had a guy threaten to sue me. Carlos calls him Basement Bob. The guy went after me.
Sue you for what?
Well, because in a vlog, I talked about how I thought maybe a 16-team tournament would work, where you take all the 10, I think there's 10, if I'm not mistaken, there's 10 leagues in FBS 1. And you take all those winners, every one of them, then you got 6 at-larges. Pretty simple. I'm guarantee you, I'm not the first guy ever came up with this idea. Guys messaging me on YouTube and sending me emails that he wrote a book about this, and he's taking me to court, suing me, and I'm like, dude, relax. I guarantee you this has been spouted 1,000 times. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, well, it sounds like common sense. Yeah,
but that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a real tournament where all the conference champions get in. Yeah, and then you got 6 at-larges. And I had a couple of my followers who are big SEC guys say, well, that's, just part of the participation trophy syndrome here. And listen, there's nobody who hates the participation trophy syndrome in this country more than me. Not when you're rewarding 10 league winners, right? Yeah. And the 6 other best teams, and give them a chance to play for the championship. This isn't, letting everybody, giving everybody a trophy just for showing up.
Right. It's not 60. It will take a little bit away from the regular season, but the SEC is so freaking competitive, man.
Now,
Alabama would have been a good team in the playoff last year.
The problem with the SEC now and all these we're going to, the Big Ten's going to get there as well. 16 teams, too many. You can't play everybody every year, and I don't like that anyway. They didn't do it before even. And realignment started all this. I like the playoff. I don't like all this realignment. College football, is a lot about traditions. And I say this a lot. I call it I probably stole this from somebody too. College football is a regional sport with national appeal. People want to see Oklahoma and Nebraska. We don't get that anymore. They wanted Texas A&M. Well, we'll get that again.
I can't wait for that one.
It'll be fun, but the more you get these big conferences, you're not even at some point. I mean, what are they going to do? You can have three. I think you can have three consistent rivalries that you'll have year after year.
Yeah. But
you're going to go 3-4 years with some teams not playing other teams.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
It's hard. And guess what? You know what? It might help the Vanderbilts of the world actually win some games because Alabama's never going to get them. They're going to get them once every 4 years or whatever.
I'm out of Nashville. We can trade Vanderbilt for Clemson any day. Or Miami, Ohio State. I'll take either one. Here, listen to this. I sent you this screenshot, man.
Yep.
You've watched college football how long? 45 years?
More, but yes.
50, like Billy Sims and all that?
50 years, probably 55 if I'll be 60.
All right, it's okay, man.
50 plus, let's say that.
Where would you put this schedule? I think this Florida schedule next year is the hardest schedule probably in the history of college football.
I think it's pretty close, and I think Billy Napier better have a good year this year because when he gets to next year, it's going to be. I mean, he's got one cupcake, right? I think Stanford maybe is on his schedule.
Stanford and maybe Mississippi State. That's only because their coach died.
Yeah, but that's a league game. That's not going to be a pushover.
Mike Leach died last year. That would have been a hard game.
Yeah,
UCF is in there. But that's not a given.
I mean, who's there out of conference? They got the Miami Hurricanes, right? And who else?
I got Miami.
UCF, that's a good school.
Yeah, UCF, Miami, and Sanford. But everybody else, I mean, you're talking Georgia, at Texas, who's got top-ranked classes here. I mentioned at Florida State, they're going to be ranked. LSU, who's going to a coach has played in a national championship. Georgia's won 2 national championships. Jimbo Fisher won a national championship. They got to play at Texas A&M.
Yeah, nobody's going to say they played cupcakes. That's for sure. You know what's going to happen?
Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. They got to play Lane. I mean, that's just great coach after great coach, man. I've never seen a schedule like this. Tennessee's back on top. I mean, they're playing much better.
I personally think at some point this will also hurt college football, though, because you're going to have such a gauntlet to get through. They already had a gauntlet, to get through in the SEC, but now with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, it's going to get that much tougher. And you're going to play such a hard schedule in your conference that you're not going to want to schedule anybody good outside your conference.
No.
And that's going to hurt college football because you're not going to get some of these great intra-conference rivalries that we've had through the years. I got mad with realignment about the in-conference rivalries we lost, but there's a lot of good intra-conference rivalries. Is USC going to keep scheduling Notre Dame when they're playing a schedule in the Big Ten?
Do you think Notre Dame will join a conference in the next 2 years?
I think they're going to have to because I think they're going to have trouble scheduling. I really do. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to have a competitive enough schedule, and people already complain, about what their schedule is depending on the year. But I think they're going to have no choice. And the Big Ten is the perfect fit for Notre Dame, and I'm shocked that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The ACC kind of lost their chance, I think, to get Notre Dame, lock them up full time when Notre Dame came hat in hand in 2020 saying we need to be a
USC. When does USC come into the Big Ten?
Next year, 2020.
Next year is going to be the grand year in college football.
I think it's 2025 actually.
25. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got the playoff next year. Arch Manning is going to he could potentially be starting for Texas next year.
If he could, I mean, you might look at they got two great,
Well, Ewers, Quinn Ewers may be he may be a Heisman guy this year.
He might be, and Manning might be, and one or both of them could transfer out of there because there'll be somebody else coming in. If Steve Sarkisian doesn't win now, he's in trouble.
I'm reading good things about him. They're picked to win that conference. And
I like Texas or Oklahoma to win on their way out of that conference. It just feels like that's what's going to happen.
You think that coach for Oklahoma is going to rebound?
He better, because I think the string is very short. That team is they got too much talent for that team to be 6-7 last year.
Yeah,
I mean, you can make all the excuses you want. Lincoln Riley took the quarterback, this and that, but it's Oklahoma. There was a lot of talent left behind.
Man.
And it's a better than 6-7 team, and
he's so intense. He I know they recruited really well this past year.
Yeah,
and Florida's got a good class coming in next year. I'm not sure if either coach will survive.
Well, that's the thing. Recruiting's great, but you got to get those kids to win games. Ask Jimbo Fisher about that. He wins. He's in the top 4 every year in recruiting.
Did you see that offensive coordinator he brought in there?
Yep.
God, I can't remember his name now.
I remember too.
The former Louisville head coach.
Oh, Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, he coached Lamar Jackson
by the way.
Louisville.
Speaking of guys with issues, man.
He's a good coach, though.
He is a good coach, good offensive coach. And I think, the premise of, Jimbo getting rid of the play calling duties was smart.
Yeah.
It's too hard for coaches today to be, you got to be a CEO really, and you got to be running the whole show, and you can't be just locked into one side of the football. And I think Jimbo made a smart move. He's got a fall guy too for the offense, but
Pickles says the SEC NASCAR 25 years ago. Maybe NASCAR was good 25 years ago. They had Dale Earnhardt.
I'll take it. I don't know.
They also said Pickles accident waiting to happen. Well, a lot of people were against Nick Saban hiring Lane Kiffin. My thing is, Jimbo Fisher's a pretty secure guy. He's got a national championship. And who else is better available to work with quarterbacks than Bobby Petrino? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give the guy a pass. And Pickles might be making a little play on words here because he had if you remember, he had the motorcycle accident with the
in Arkansas
trainer on the back of his bike. So he showed up to the press conference in the collar and his face all smashed up. And that's when he was at Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah. And people say it was a motorcycle wreck, or did she attack him with the helmet? There's a lot of theories on that.
If he keeps his nose clean, he's a good addition to this Texas A&M team. Listen, the pressure's on. He's got to perform. Jimbo, here's another problem with college football. They lock up these guys like Jimbo, 10 years, $75 million.
Yeah, he did have a huge contract, didn't he?
Mel Tucker. They can't afford to buy these guys out when they're terrible. Who's going to pay somebody $75 million to go away?
That old money is what I hear.
Well,
they had the largest endowment. A couple of years ago, Forbes said they had them in Texas were really close as the top endowments in college football.
Yeah, I can see where that would be true. And neither one of them's done a lot of winning on the field the last 20 years either.
I still can't believe A&M lost to TCU at home like that. Or not A&M, Texas last year. At home, they had complete control, and it's like yours, like it was too big for him or something. I know he cut his mullet off. He's supposed to have a really good camp, though. Quinn Ewers, yeah. Yeah, that guy's got a huge NIL deal.
He supposedly outplayed Arch Manning by not just a little bit. And
that's what I can't wait to see what's going to happen there. But my theory is, I think Florida, with this crazy schedule we're talking about, I think there's a good possibility that they fire Napier, and maybe they go after Deion Sanders, who I think is going to be one and done there.
Yeah, I was surprised Deion took the job in Colorado at all. And if anybody thinks he's there for the long haul, It's a matter of Florida State,
Yeah.
somebody opening up in Florida, and he's going to be back there.
Yeah.
I think he really believed that Norvell was going to get fired at Florida State.
Yeah, and they kind of rebounded.
Yeah, he had a decent year last year, and they're loaded this year too. So I don't think that job's gonna open up anytime soon. So Napier's probably got this year.
Yeah,
because come 2024, when he gets that gauntlet of his
that's Murder's Row, man. That's Murder's Row. I just think that that's very difficult. Do you have a team in mind? Who do you think is going to win the National? If you had to pick one team today, I know we still got training camp for college too.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's hard for me to. I'm going to give you an outsider, but it's hard for me to go against Georgia. Georgia is Alabama now.
Wow.
Alabama's
3 years in a row.
They got a lot of talent left. This team's really good still. I said the same last year. I thought they'd take a step back. They were as good or better last year than they were the year before.
That is true.
But I'll give you. Don't sleep on Florida State.
Okay.
Don't sleep on Florida State. I mean, it's not a huge upset. I mean, I think they're in the top 10 in the preseason polls, which don't mean a lot. But don't sleep on Florida State. I like them a lot.
Do they have a quarterback that they got a lot of confidence in?
The quarterback is going to be the rub. If they get good quarterback play, they will be very good. And
that's my problem with Alabama. I don't know who's going to be their starter. I don't think it's going to be that Milton kid.
I don't either. I think it's a little soon for a little high for Alabama even to be at 2. I think they're at 2 only because they're Alabama.
Yeah. Well, their recruiting classes are so good every year, man.
It's funny.
It's all about quarterback play now.
We talk about Alabama being down, right? They lose 2 games last year for
I know. One Tennessee by a field goal. And the other one's off a 2-point conversion.
Yeah. Right.
Some people are picking LSU. I mean, this year I feel like it's wide open, man.
LSU,
Georgia's got the easiest schedule. God, it should be against the law for them to have to play that schedule. They should play Florida's schedule.
They're not going to get tested until late, probably the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
first get tested. And that's why I kind of like them 3-peat. Listen, you don't see teams 3-peat for sure. You don't even see teams repeat.
When's the last time you've seen a college team 3-peat?
3-peat? Well, USC I think would have
in the 70s.
I think when Pete Carroll was there, but I think they lost. I think they lost the national championship game.
Oh, okay.
Texas, I think that would have been a 3-peat, I believe.
Oh, with 2005, Vince Young, game of his life.
Yeah, and now, of course, I think one of those was vacated. One of those national.
Oh, that's right, with the Reggie Bush thing.
Right, but I can't remember the last time somebody did. Let's check that out.
I'm thinking Oklahoma in the 70s, but who knows? I don't think it's been there. I've been watching.
It's the answer of that question is way back. Minnesota, 34, 35, and 36.
No Alabama team, no Bear Bryant team.
Nope.
That tells you I don't think it's going to be Joe. But they don't play nobody. I mean, we'll see.
History's against them, but
yeah.
They'll be the favorite. From the outside, I'll take Florida State.
Yeah.
I like Mike.
If I had to go out on a limb, I'd say Texas, but I know they're going to let me down. They let me down every year.
Yeah, that's. I'm not a big Steve Sarkisian fan. I'll tell you, he's just, he's had good talent and not.
It's like he's feeling the pressure.
He's got enough talent to win.
Yeah,
had enough talent to win, and he's really not made use of it at all. I don't think.
No. Well, hey man, I hope y'all have a good time. You said your brother's going to be in from Utah.
My brother's in town. Yeah, he's lived in California and Utah for the last 20, maybe 30 years now. But he's been in Utah for like 12. They come around. He retired a couple years ago, and they're traveling around the country right now. And they're
Winnebago.
Well, yeah, whatever it is, not a Winnebago, but it's that type of vehicle. So he's going to be at my dad's, who's still with us, and so they're only going to be there one day. I think they got there today.
Y'all ain't gonna see a Yankee game or Red Sox game?
No, because I'm working, but I'm gonna bug out in the afternoon. We're going to go up and have a little cookout at my dad, my stepmom's, and
Oh man,
so we'll have a little.
nice up there this time of year, isn't it?
It's hot, I can tell you, but
Wow.
we've been hot and rainy. It hasn't been that all. When it's nice here in upstate New York, there's no better place to be.
I hear it probably. I would imagine,
But it's only about 10 times a year.
All right, you know what? I can't wait to bring you on the closer we get to college, because you seem like one of my best college guests, man. You really know the college game.
Well, I got to start getting into it too, because I'm going to start my college football huddle show back up probably a week from probably next week. We'll start.
You got your Phil Steele magazine, Keith?
Yeah. Phil, what was that?
I got here's mine from last year.
Street and Smith. I still do Street and Smith.
I think this is Phil Steele. This might be my that may be my pro one. I don't know what I did with my Phil Steele. It's around here somewhere. I've got about 2 or 3 of them. They're real thick. They're like a Bible, man.
No, I know. A lot of information, though.
Yeah. Can't wait. I love betting college games. I have more luck with the college than I do the pros.
Me too.
You know?
I have good Saturdays, and I give it all back on Sunday.
I get overconfident on Sunday, man. So, something I may have you back on. Maybe the Patriots will sign DeAndre Hopkins.
I hope so. He's got, I think he's hoping another team who's going to pay him, because he wants, 12, 13, 14 million at least, and up to what Beckham got. He's not going to give what Beckham got.
You think he's trying to skip training camp?
I think he thinks there's going to be a mystery team come in with the money. That's what I think. And
Okay.
I think it's the Titans or the Patriots.
If it's the Titans, I don't want him if he's going to skip training camp, just to skip training. I hate it when players do that.
No, I want him in camp. That's for sure. I mean,
You got to get your timing down, man.
Wherever he goes, he's got to learn the offense, and he's got to get it, as you said, timing down with a quarterback. So
Yeah. I hope he don't think he's too good for. I don't like that. That annoys me. I think Clowney did that one year, and of course he wasn't no good.
Carlos says training camp doesn't matter, even a whip. So don't.
Mr. Contrarian.
And then he tells me how bad the games are in the first month of the season.
Well, no, you can't. There's no more 2-a-days.
Because you can't do anything in camp. You can't hit. You can only wear pads 2 days a week.
It's terrible for the offensive line.
Oh, it's terrible,
Yeah.
man.
All right, Keith. Hey, have a good night, man. Have a good time.
I will, and I'll be on anytime you want. And because I'll be starting my show up here pretty soon, so I'll certainly be on.
Hit
Wednesday
me up
night.
if you want to. I definitely love college football.
Yeah, we'll get you on. We'll do some chit chat on Wednesdays before you do the show.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Keith.
All right, Robert. Have a good
All
night.
right, guys. Yep. All right, everybody. I will be back on tomorrow, same time, same place. I have Jeremy. What's his name? Let me make sure. Jeremy Belrich on. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions. I'm going to ask him some questions about the Lions, this Jameis Williams suspension. Their former first-round pick, he got suspended for gambling at one of the facilities, one of the Tennessee Titans. Fareed Pruitt, or whatever his name is, the right tackle, also suspended for gambling on campus, non-football. Going to get his thoughts on that. Going to get his thoughts on the Lions. Went on his show a few weeks back, and really good guy. Don't miss it. He'll be on around 30 minutes past the hour tomorrow as well. God, Keith's great, isn't he? Thanks, everybody.